Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to the Badgers Den. Hope you guys are liking the new little setups that I'm doing. I'm trying not to. I guess I'm trying to find my placement. You know what I mean? I'm trying to find that one spot where I'm like, all right, this is the shit. This is the one I like. This is how I want to keep them. You know what I mean? So the first episode, y'all seen it. I was in the living room. Did up the lights, did everything on had the logo on the TV, all that good stuff. Made it look as professional as I could, considering my living room's not the most like theatric or cinematic when it comes to lighting. It's actually very hard to light my living room. So, first episode we did there, you know what I mean. Second episode, it was right next to the living room. My apartment's not really big. Right next to the living room, right there on the kitchen. Set everything up on the table, and I like the way it looked. You know what I mean. I really like the setup on that one, but the chair setup was a little funky. You know what I mean? That episode's still building listeners, still building views. So there's a little game on that episode where I asked y'all what was I sitting on. Pause. Not going there today. Um, but yeah, it was kind of tricky to get that set up. So I'm trying this one now. This is the third episode, and on this episode, I wanted to. I guess I wanted a way to kind of keep your attention. You know what I mean? I don't want to light shit up just to make it look nice. You know what I mean? I want to kind of incorporate the feel of the videos with whatever I'm talking about, which is also why I'm kind of bouncing back and forth between locations, if you will, before I finally settle down in my spot. But today I really wanted to just kind of open up more about just, I guess you could say, the topic of mental health. You know what I mean? I just kind of wanted to get more real and just open up about life shit in general. You know what I mean? Just not too much well, I guess hardships, and just where it could lead your mind, and just where struggles in general could lead your mind, depending on where and who you are as a person. You know what I mean? And also where you're at in life, and who you are. I just said who you are as a person, but I mean more of like who you are internally. Like, have you faced your own self? You know what I mean? Have you gone through your own trials and tribulations, and your own, have you gone through your own consequences through your own actions of doing stupid shit? And have you recognized like your own toxicity or your own toxic traits to work on yourself enough? Or it doesn't even have to be that negative, but it could be like just simple shit. Have you worked on yourself enough to where the little goals that you set for yourself, are you hitting them enough? Your daily goals of maybe even just cleaning up the house and staying on top of shit at your house. Like, are you staying on top of things like that? Like, all these things matter. You know what I mean? All these things matter in the long run when it comes to mental health, especially. And also, before I get really going, I'm gonna try not to have any interruptions on this podcast. And it's like, practice doesn't make perfect, but practice makes progress. And right now we're in the midst of making progress. As you guys can see, I'm sure you've seen some of the promo videos that have been coming out, some of the music video I just shot for Steady Dope, the promo video that I shot for Darren, my promo videos. There's a there's a lot of upgrades happening right now. And the one thing I wanted to fuck, I got kind of sidetracked. I was going off on something right before I started. Yeah, progress. Sorry. Practice makes progress. And what I was trying to say was I'm getting more used to this. You know what I mean? I'm getting more used to the ball rolling and being more open and trying to stay on topic with what I'm trying to say. So I'm gonna do my best not to have too many reiterations and too many redundant. I don't know if redundancies is a word, but I'm not gonna try to get too redundant, if you will. You know what I mean? But I was trying to say, practice makes progress, and even those little daily things that you do, they build your habits. They build your habits into bigger, better, more organized thoughts and habits. It could fall under the category of discipline, but really what comes first is the consistency, because you can be consistent without discipline, and you could be disciplined without consistency. Believe it or not, this comes from someone speaking from experience. You know what I mean? I always I always try not to use myself as an example when I can, but in moments like this where it comes down to especially mental health, physical health, sure, but mental health, I'm one who just by listening to my music, you could tell I'm open about shit. You know what I mean? I'm willing to go into that side more, you know? I'm willing to open up about, shit that I've done, shit that I do and work on to this day with my own flaws and with my own just progress in life, Like one thing I think people seem to forget is they see a lot of shit on social media. They see the way we promote, they see the visual representation and slash presentation of what we do. They see a lot of what I do online, especially in the gym when it comes to working out, when it comes to staying disciplined and staying motivated to go all the time, making progress consistently with virtually no help. It's really me that gets myself going and gets myself to do what I do. But as somebody who does this and has literally lived it and still battles with the toxic traits that I really have of, not really having true self-belief in myself. And I don't really need validation from like people, but it does help when it comes to those days when I have my own self against me. You know what I mean? And as somebody who comes across extremely disciplined and is constantly consistent. Holy shit! I'm gonna go Eminem and start hitting C's and K's and go crazy with fucking alliteration. Nah, all jokes aside, like not for real. When it comes to consistency and discipline and motivation and all those, fucking keywords or whatever you want to call them, like it's all surface level shit. You know what I mean? There's a lot of days that I post what I do in the gym. I post what I'm making progress in, what I'm planning, all this shit, Those are the days that y'all see it. And like 90% of the time, that's how it is. Sure. There's that 10%. And that 10%, bro, that 10% is so vicious because it happens so much more than you realize. And it sounds crazy because like the math wouldn't math, if you will, if you were to try to make it like logical. But the reality is like mental health isn't necessarily always logical. You know what I mean? You could have somebody breaking shit down to you and trying to keep your head right and explaining shit to you about how things aren't really as bad as your brain portrays them to be. And rationally and logically, yeah, they're right. They're 100% right. Realistically though, in your own world, in your own head, it's not that at all. And you can't even begin to get swayed on believing that sometimes. You know what I mean? And I think we have a lot of outlets. I think we have plenty of outlets and ways to deal with these issues as individuals, but I don't think we get the push to embrace those outlets as much as we should. And especially in the world that we live in, it's I mean, it's what's the word? It's objective. It's objective to say it. We're in a really free world. You know what I mean? Reality is if you were to compare yourself to somebody living truly without the privileges that we have, you would see that we're very free, But at the end of the day, even in our quote unquote free world, we're not really we're not always pushed to embrace those outlets because a lot of times those outlets become very like we cling on to them hard as fuck, you know what I mean? And one of the big ones I could fucking relate to easily is what I do right now. Everything that you guys have seen for years, Music is something that I first got into for expressing my own emotions of not being heard, of being fucked with in school, of, basically being labeled as the bully and being labeled as the bad guy when for years I would take shit and I would get, just fucked with all the time. And the very moment I stood up for myself, everybody turned the cards against me. And in doing so, it built up a huge fucking like bitterness toward a lot of things and made me put up a real shield toward a lot of things for the majority of my life coming up. And the only way the only way that I found I could break that barrier down was through music, through expressing myself, through opening up with poetry, through speaking what my truth was during those moments, not what the world's truth seen, but what actually was happening from, me as a kid. Like, it's crazy to think about because I know other kids live it. I know other people have gone through it just because of how much more open the world is now too, as well, with talking about things like this. You know, it's a weird thing to bring up, especially out here in our state. I feel like our state has a real generational trauma built on its people, and so opening up like this is something that, especially when you're around family, like, people would rather take it like you're talking down on them when you're just speaking about how you genuinely came up and the way they reacted to things and how it affected you. You're never really putting them down or saying that they did bad by not like I'll never say that my parents didn't raise me right, or I'll never fucking put the blame on them for anything. Like, the way I came up through my own survival tactics and my own shield was through the actions of it was just through the way the world basically treated me, other people treated me. It wasn't the fact that they reacted how they knew to react to it at the time with the information they had and with how they were raised, and how they thought was best, as would all of our parents and all of the people ahead of us. And this is why I say it's a generational trauma thing, because when you open up about this type of stuff and you bring up the fact that, like, I'm going to use this as an example because I know other people can relate to it. When you were the one that was bullied for years on end and spoke up about it multiple times, but never got heard, and were the one that actually got in trouble for finally standing up for yourself, it leaves you with a fucked up taste over the years. And whenever you're finally able to express it, you can very healthily express it and just talk about it in like this tone and everything. And you could express it like this, but 9 times out of 10, in my experience, when this is expressed in this manner, the energy in the room goes up instantly, because it's almost like they're taking it as a fucking backhand to the way that they brought you up and the way that they made those choices, And it's fucked up because it's like you should be able to open up. You should be able to open up in those instances with or without family, you know what I mean? With or without close friends, with or without therapy, with or without people that are gonna look at you weird for opening up that way, Because I think therapy is necessary for a lot of people, but I think it's only necessary because of that aspect, that we aren't all fortunate enough to be able to open up this way, or even have a outlet where even like 1 or 2 people could hear us out when we're talking this way. You know what I mean? So a lot of us end up just bottling it or developing unhealthy habits, fucking, this world's built on it. This country's built on it. We have so many unhealthy habits that we just, I don't want to say glorify, because it's not necessarily that we glorify it, but we most certainly aren't going to say stop doing it or get moderation on it or get more control on it. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to sit here and preach like I'm better, or I'm not going to sit here and make it seem like I'm talking like I'm better or have the solutions, because I don't. I'm a fucking mess when it comes to the mental health shit, man. Like, I stay on my shit and I stay balanced when I have my outlets around me, when I'm able to create, when I'm able to make music, when I'm able to freely enjoy my life and go, just hike and fucking just go out on the town and just socialize even, or just, just do little things that bring me little bits of joy, It's a good feeling, and that's what keeps me in check. But even when, like, say I have something to record, say I have something to make promo for, or make some type of content for, if my mind's not in the state to make it, I can't force it. And if I try to force it, 9 times out of 10, it's literally like I can have this outlet here. I can have this way of keeping myself in check. But the very thing that keeps me in check can drive me fucking insane too if I'm not able to do it freely. And one of the things that like fuck hell, all the creators know, one of the things that keeps us from freely doing this is work, you know, being stuck 9 to 5 shit and constantly trying to make ends meet, you know, that shit'll drive you insane too. And when your outlet is the very thing that you're grinding for, it's like it's fuck, man. You can hear it. You can hear it right now as I'm talking about it. It gets you on edge and it gets you kind of crazy. And I don't think I don't think the majority of ordinary people understand that, and that's coming from more of a like creators end or even a entrepreneur's end, even a business owner's end. I could see that being the case in their eyes and in their shoes too, because it's a never ending cycle, you know? The very thing you use to kind of escape I don't want to use this corny ass term escape the matrix, but that's technically what you're doing. If you say you're a successful business owner, say you had something that popped off and now all of a sudden shit's running good and your worries aren't behind you by any means, but the very thing that you worked all this time to build up on and the very shit that was keeping you up at night thinking like, fuck, I don't know if it's even going to work out. Any of this shit's going to work, like blah, 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 blah. Like when it does work out and everything goes up, it's just more fucking problems. It's just more shit. It's just more responsibility. It's just more things that can potentially trigger those anxieties and those little bits of like scars that can potentially fuck with your mental health more, which is why I just was mentioning unhealthy habits. Like I'm guilty of it. I'm a caffeine addict like fuck, man. And I don't go like, I don't go ham. I don't go like crazy, but I consider myself an addict to caffeine. I can't function without caffeine. And as somebody who used to do tons of cocaine and tons of like, I never fucked with the harder shit like meth or anything like that. And, but as somebody who preferred like uppers and being more energetic, it makes sense to me now that being so dependent on shit like that for years, now it's like I can function without it for a little while, but then at some point it's like, fuck, bro, there's no way. I need a cup of coffee or I need an energy drink or I need something, you know? And it's something that I've been like, I kind of do this with it, you know what I mean? I wean off it. I let my tolerance go back down, and then I fucking, drink pre-workouts, obviously, because I hit the gym as much as I do. And it's just it's kind of a wave like that. But talking to other people and being observative with other people and just watching like the world in general and seeing habits amongst others that are my age and also younger and older, like it's a fucking habit, man. Like all of us have that fucking addiction to like to something, you know what I mean? Even if it's legal, and it's crazy to think about because it all just goes right back to here. Like, yeah, sometimes it's physical pain and like that's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother end, you know what I mean? But most of the time, the majority of stuff like that, those type of habits come from not being, I don't want to say right, but not fucking having everything. What's the word? I guess, balanced or at peace at that moment. You know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, that's the fucking more unhealthy habits. They're not. It's hard to talk on them. It's hard to talk on them because a lot of them are legal, and a lot of them people nowadays especially kind of look at you like, oh, you think you're better than if you're not fucking doing that type of shit, huh? You think you're better if you're not drinking, or you think you're better if you're not, smoking cigarettes, or you think you're better than me if you're not fucking taking, like Xanaxes or something. Like, it's just crazy to me. Like, nobody thinks they're better than anybody. You know what I mean? It's just stating the facts that these habits do become unhealthy after a while. If you're actually, if you're actually on the end where you need medication, it's a different story for you. You know what I mean? You're there enough to fucking keep your shit in check, and you're there enough to fucking know what's good and what's not good for you, then you have more power in you than you realize. You just have to be willing to kind of do that shadow work on your own from time to time, and got to look into yourself from time to time without the substances. And that could sound hypocritical of me, considering I just told you that I function every day on caffeine, like decently high amounts of caffeine. But the fact is that I am working on it too. As I said, it's a fucking cycle, man. It's a fucking constant roller coaster. And especially when you're doing work like this too, it's constant work, man. We don't have normal hours. I don't have clock in now, gotta work this video from this time to this time. Okay, done with the clock. No, it's so not like that at all. Constant work around the clock, you know what I mean? Constant work, especially when it comes to collabs or music videos or spontaneous fucking moments where you have time and you're like, fuck, I have time. I got to get this project done. I got to get this done. We got to do it now. Let's do it now. That's the type of life it is, you know? So you're always kind of on the go. And it's just a battle. It's just really a battle. And I think we're all in a battle in a sense. We're all in a battle in our own ways, from life, events, you know, jobs, careers, all that. Everything that we all do, everything we all relate to, you know what I mean? That we all have to go through, that every normal person goes through in this society. We're all going through the same shit. Others know how to handle it better without bringing this type of shit up. Others kind of need to open up and vent a little bit more. You know what I mean? We're all different energies we're all different energies in meat puppets, bro. Like, it's crazy to think about. And, you know, as somebody who has done a lot of bullshit where it comes to like knowing I could go right, but choosing to go left, you know, seeing good, but doing bad, like, it gets to you after a while, and you realize that you need a line of balance, and that line of balance comes in many ways. You know what I mean? Some people, it could be as simple as going on a walk. You know, a daily fucking walk could be their balance. You know what I mean? Playing with their dog at home could be their balance. Taking care of their kids, that could be their balance. You know, coming home to your spouse and just having somebody to be there with, that could be your balance too. You know, everybody's balance is different, and finding that balance is tough. And I think a lot of people, this is just me speaking opinion. This is just my opinion from my own views and my own kind of like walks through the trials and errors. I feel like a lot of people don't know how to hold on to the balance once they have it. They're it's almost like chasing pleasure, if you will. You know, when you're at that moment where you're just kind of like, I don't have to do anything. Like, I'm chilling. Like, there's no need to go do anything. Even if it's with somebody, like say you and your spouse are kicking in at the house, and both of y'all have that fucking look on each other's face, like you wanted to go do something, but you both have that realization that it's like, hey, we don't have to do shit. We're at peace right now and we're happy. That feeling is what you should be chasing. You know what I mean? And it could be attained with the simplest shit. But we get distracted so much by just, I personally feel like I don't want to sound like one of those people that preaches propaganda and bullshit, but I genuinely feel like it's the fucking media. The media makes us just chase bullshit that isn't real. You know what I mean? Makes us chase this perfection that really is not fucking real. This perfection of like big daily things, big nightly activities, and fucking it's just everybody, you know the stereotypical generalization of what the media portrays. And I feel like we're in a day and age where we're fed so much shit through social media that we tend to believe that that's what reality should be. And we chase and so many times in life we have what can bring us peace and balance right in our fucking hands, but we constantly we're going right the whole time, and we have it and then we go left, have it and then go left, have it and go left. And it's fucking crazy. It's crazy. There's just nothing else really to say about it. It's crazy what human nature is like, searching for the next best thing. You know what I mean? And to know that we're always searching for that next best thing makes you ask the question, like, are we ever really satisfied even when we're balanced? You know what I mean? Because it's good to not be satisfied in a sense when it comes to, say, making yourself a better person and chasing actual attainable goals that you know you're on the way to getting. You know, that makes sense. You know, that makes total sense to me. But like, if you're just chasing something that is never actually going to satisfy your taste because deep down you know you can't actually be satisfied, like, how does that work? You know what I mean? And I think a lot of us have that but don't realize it because we don't look into ourselves enough to even know that that's what the issue is. And I'm speaking just from my own experience in my own shoes. I have a void that I can't ever get satisfied because it comes from my need for perfection. And it's a toxic trait of mine. It's a real toxic trait of mine where I need this perfection and this, like, almost this, like, this is the perfect example right here. I need a look. You know what I mean? And maybe it comes from marketing. Maybe it comes from presentation and just being in the career that I'm in and chasing the artistic dreams and visions that I've chased for years. But I can't not put something, I can't put something forward without 200% effort. And sometimes it could be the worst fucking trait ever because I could have the simplest shit to do, but I will overcomplicate the living fuck out of it because I want to make it a grand thing. You know what I mean? And it makes me look at it makes me look at shit like, it makes me look at shit differently. And I realize that that's where a lot of my judgments come from. I realize that's where a lot of my shit talking comes from. That's where a lot of my pride comes from, where my ego comes from, especially when it comes to creators and when it comes to, you know, just overall people in this type of field. Like, I genuinely don't have a real hateful heart or like angry taste toward anybody. But when I go online and I look at even just locals out here and I see videos and I see music videos, I see content videos, I'm like, it hurts me to say it because inside I don't feel this way about the person themselves, but I feel this way about their work when I see it. And I'm like, why is it so ghetto? Like, why can't you take 5 more minutes to set this up this way? Or tell your friend to stand in this corner instead of just stand right here blatant as fuck and make it look like just like shit and basic. Like, it's a toxic trait of mine because I see these little things that really shouldn't matter when somebody's actually just enjoying themselves and having fun and creating content. You know what I mean? When they're just enjoying themselves and doing their thing, like, those things shouldn't matter. And from my end, because I'm a perfectionist when it comes to this type of shit. I see little ass tiny things like that and I will immediately notice it and I want to stop it. You know what I mean? Like, if I were in somebody's shoes where, say, we're doing a music video, say we're doing any type of video and we're just like, say we're out in this parking lot right here. If the person themselves is like, no, this is good right here, just shoot it like this. And on camera, it looks just flat. You know what I mean? It's just flat. Like, you literally just pick the camera up and hit record. In my head, I'm like, what am I doing here then, bro? Like, you could have got your fucking ghetto ass homie to do this, bro. Like, what is this bullshit? And I don't know, like, it's just different. Maybe it's just different. Maybe it's a bad example. Maybe it's not. But to me, I fucking feel like, I just feel like you have to present yourself well. And I feel like you have to fucking be willing to put in some effort. You know what I mean? But there becomes a point where it just becomes toxic as fuck. And I know for a fact it does because I find myself doing that to myself in a sense, to where I'll see somebody and I'm like, yo, this person's dope. I actually kind of want to work with them. And then I'll talk to them a little bit. We'll get to networking. And then come like fucking maybe 2 weeks before we finally get to start working, I'll start looking into like what they want to do more, and I'll ask them more detailed shit about what we're doing. And nine times out of 10, they don't fucking think ahead of shit like that. And then I automatically will cut the collaboration there because I don't want to work with somebody that doesn't have any intention to do anything else afterwards. You know what I mean? Or they don't have any real backbone or back foundation. They don't have a foundation to the art that they're creating. Like, that shit don't make sense to me. So then I immediately cut the collaboration. But then I get looked at like a dick because I cut the collaboration because in my mind they're not good enough, and that sounds fucked up. And it's fucked up because like we're all on kind of the same level out here of just trying to make it and do our thing, you know? So it makes me look more like a snob than anything. And I don't like that. So in a sense, it fucks me up. You know what I mean? And that's why I call it a toxic trait of being a perfectionist. Like, it doesn't always have to be that way, but it's something I battle with 24/7 because in my head, if I don't do something to perfection and I don't go all in on something, I'll look back on it later and it'll fuck with me to the point that I'm like, ugh, I don't like that work and I didn't want to do that, or whatever. I'll have a fucking sort of feel toward it, and I don't like being that person. You know what I mean? So going back to the whole mental health thing and why this all ties and relates to it is because, like, for me personally, I can't be satisfied with half-assery. Like, I can't put something out and stand by it if it's a piece of shit. Like, I just can't, bro. I can't. And I did for a little bit, and it fucked with my mental health really fucking bad. And it sounds kind of corny, but it's the truth. I did for a little while when I was putting out some music on YouTube, around a year and a half ago. No, about a year ago when I was in the middle of just trying to rebuild everything and at the same time trying to give content all at once. You know what I mean? Trying to find that fucking balance and trying to do things right. I kind of said, fuck it. I just started experimenting and doing whatever I wanted, making whatever I wanted to make, putting out whatever I wanted to put out. And to be honest, there's some good music I made, but there was also some music that I made where I was like, that was shit. Like, I didn't have to put that out. That was whack. And like, in doing so, it made me realize just how important it is to fucking have your shit in check up here, because I was willing to believe myself that I could do whatever I want and put out whatever I want. And it's wild. It's literally like my own toxic ass trait of being a perfectionist came back to bite me in the ass at that point. Because after all the years of being the way I was and doing things the way I do them and watching the upgrades go like this and this and this, watching everything level up the way it had the whole time, when I dropped those songs, I noticed an immediate drop with attention and with views and engagement and everything. And one of my boys pulled me aside and he said, it's not what it should be, bro. Like, this is where you were at and this is what you're putting out now, and it sounds like shit compared to this. And the only reason I pushed myself to believe that it didn't and wasn't was because I was venting as hard as I could with the shit that was going on in my life through those experimentations of music that I was doing. You know what I mean? So it was almost like a justification in my mind that, no, I'm doing this to get shit off my chest. But in reality, it still was kind of like shit. You know what I mean? It's the reality. It's the cold hard truth to it, because there's such a thing as getting shit off of your chest, writing shit out, putting shit out, but not releasing it. You know what I mean? There is that. And that's kind of what that little era of time should have been. But being who I am and being the way that I am, I feel like I'm cheating my people by not giving them something, even if it wasn't the best of me. You know what I mean? So it's like a double-edged sword. It's a real double-edged sword, trying to have this outlet to cope with my own mental health, but at the same time, it's the very thing that kind of attacks my mental health at the same time. it's a battle, you know? And I think we all have our own ways of balancing out that battle while still using our outlets, you know what I mean? And the way I found to balance it now for me personally is basically just taking a break and taking a breath and looking at everything before I make my next move. Stepping back, looking at everything and saying, hey, you did this. You have this video done. You got your brother's video done. You have 6 songs in the vault for the new project. You have 2 singles ready for your next videos, whatever you want to do. You have 3 more videos that you have to fucking do for your album. Take a breath, roll the dice on what you're doing first, and then start the process over again. Taking that breath and being able to step back and look at things in a controlled manner has helped me level myself out so much more now, to where everything that you guys are seeing presented to you and everything that I'm uploading, everything that I'm bringing to my social media, everything I'm bringing to YouTube, etc., all that is easier for me now to look at from I don't want to say a normal person's view because that makes me sound crazy, but from a normal person's view, literally just fucking being able to actually sit back and calmly look at it and make my moves in a strategic way. I've never been able to do that because I wasn't willing to do shadow work on myself, and I wasn't willing to do inner work on myself. Over the past year and a half, although I've been dropping content and although I've been posting stuff, although I've been active, I really haven't opened up about just how hard I've been on myself over the past year and a half of basically busting my own ass and being on myself, because there's a lot that I slack on. There's a lot that I could do better on. There's a lot that I'm not satisfied with, and maybe it comes from being around people that genuinely worked for more and got more out of their lives. You know what I mean? Maybe it came from being exposed to a true hustler side of things when I was younger. I don't know what it necessarily was, but all I know is that growing up in this town, I have love for this town. I have love for the people here. I still love this place. I do. But at some point in my life, I realized that we're so happy with mediocrity and mediocre out here. And I just never, ever wanted to be satisfied with that. And I still, to this day, am never satisfied with mediocre shit. And it just, I don't want to say that too much just about the state, because maybe, I don't know, it's an opinion, you know what I mean? It's an opinion, because I do see some really dope shit out here. I see people making really good businesses that are nice and actually, that are different. It's not your typical New Mexico thing. And to me, that's cool. To me, that is something that we should embrace more. There's nothing wrong with keeping our traditions and our culture alive out here, but at the same time, let's get some nicer shit out here, man. Let's get some let's just get nicer things out here, man. Let's hold ourselves higher and present ourselves better and just try to do more, I feel like so many people out here are just so happy with they're satisfied with basic, and it's just it doesn't sit right. You know what I mean? It doesn't sit right. And as somebody who has I've been up before. I've been completely down. I'm somewhere right almost in the middle right now. So maybe that's why it has my mind a little more clear. You know what I mean? But I'm at a point where I've been on both ends of the spectrum. And all I know is at the end of the day, I can be humble as fuck, and I would be humble as fuck even with just enough money to pay my bills and enjoy a little bit of life. But if I have nice shit around me and everything looks nice and is held not pristinely, but if everything looks a lot better and feels better, I'm gonna feel better even if I'm broke as fuck still. That's just how it is. And I feel that has a lot to do with the mental health out here, is that we're so stuck to the culture, and we're so stuck to keeping things in this, like, we're so stuck to keeping tradition alive that we're unwilling to grow, and we're unwilling to make things nicer. You know what I mean? And I think it fucks with people in their heads, because you genuinely can be broke as fuck, and then when you're surrounded by shit that is broke as fuck too, it just makes you even more depressed and puts you in this fucked up headspace to where you're just kind of like, the fuck even is there here? You know what I mean? And then on the complete opposite spectrum of that, you could also have nothing and still look at everything here and be like, this place is fucking dope, because it is. So, like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's my own mental health that I'm still working on. Maybe it's just maybe it's a real observation that, like, maybe it is something that I'm hitting, but no one really speaks on it. I don't know. All I know is that if you're not happy with where you're at, and you feel like you can get more out of where you're at, then go for it, man. Even if it drives you a little fucking crazy, and even if you find yourself like going through more trial and error to get to where you want to be, fuck it, man. Go for it. Just don't settle for the mediocrity, and don't settle for normal. You know what I mean? Don't settle for fucking normal. I think, in my opinion, I don't want to say I think, in my opinion, normal fucks up a lot of things. You know what I mean? Because there's real no such thing as normal. We're all born into such different circumstances, different privileges, different. We're all born so different. You know what I mean? So to say normal and to seek normal, or even just like to kind of want what everyone else has, quote unquote, it's ridiculous, and it'll drive you insane, and it'll fuck with your mental health like crazy. You know what I mean? And yes, we have gyms. Yes, we have, we have nights on the towns. We have social lives. We have things that we could do to get out of our heads. But at the end of the day, it's all distraction. You know what I mean? It's all fucking distraction. I can't tell you how many times I've been inside the gym mentally fucked up, even more mentally fucked up when I left, because I was trying to vent through that. You know what I mean? Vent through trying to squat 300 fucking pounds. Vent by trying to lift hundreds of pounds off of the ground, like, still fucked up in the head when I left the gym. Like, there's been plenty of days where that shit didn't help. You know what I mean? So outlets can only do so much. You have to sit with yourself from time to time and realize, like, fuck, I'm spending too much on this. I'm not spending enough time with my kids. Fuck, I'm spending too much time over here bullshitting, worrying about, relationships and women, when I should be focusing on this. There's so many things that, like, we could all do better on. It's a learning process for all of us, but I think that the moment that you're willing to open up a little bit more and speak up on it, the quicker and the more the work will be done. You know what I mean? And just straight up, man, in my experience, the state sucks. The state sucks and is full of hypocritical motherfuckers for this topic. Don't get it twisted. Somebody wants to take this out of context, they can take it out of context. I don't care. Watch the whole thing and listen to the whole thing. Because reality is that this place sucks for mental health. There is a huge percentage that is opening up and getting better, but the majority percentage is still this toxic, generational, traumatized place where we can't open up because we get looked at different. Or, oh, well, nobody cares, bro. That type of shit. Like, oh, well, you're a guy, you gotta suck it up type shit. Like, fuck that. And then you guys have the balls to... We're literally in this place where you have the balls to fucking say shit like that. And then preach about, oh, he should have spoke to me and he should have talked to me. I was his friend. I'd rather have him just opened up. Meanwhile, you were the same one that was telling him, man the fuck up, bro. That's just how it is. You can't fucking be that way. Da, 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 da. Same shit. Hypocritical bullshit. And I see it. We all see it all the fucking time out here, but nobody ever speaks up on it. You know what I mean? And like, especially with men, nobody gives a fuck about us when it comes to this, especially out here. They say they do. They post memes like they do. They post content like they do. They don't give a fuck though. Like, really open up out here with somebody and watch how they treat you. Watch how the vibe changes. Watch how shit changes. Maybe it's me being biased, but that's how it's been in my experience. And until I see otherwise and until I experience otherwise, you won't change my mind on that. And I know for a fact there's a big percentage of people out here that have the same issue. And I will never be one of those people that generalizes race with it and has that type of shit with it. But a lot of it is Hispanic and Mexican culture. My culture too, us native people, we don't know how to not just clown on fuckers for opening up about shit. It's another bad fucking thing. Or we do the weird comparison shit where one of our boys opens up or one of our people opens up and then we fucking have some weird egotistic need to fucking make our problems seem bigger than theirs. Like, there's no fucking room for that shit, man. Just listen to somebody, be their ear, because you never know what the fuck. You never know whose ear you're actually being. You know what I mean? I could speak from experience, man, when it comes down to that very thing. Like, there was a point in time where I was legit ready to give up on everything, bro. I was legit ready to just throw all this shit away. I was ready to just quit and call it quits. And I have boys, I have people I could turn to. But during moments like that, especially especially in that very moment where I was that fucked up, like, I wasn't gonna turn to anybody. I wasn't gonna call anybody. I wasn't gonna give a fuck. I didn't care. Like, I didn't care to call or talk to anybody, you know? And like, out of the blue, man, like, someone I never expected to call me called me and really fucking got me out of my fucking head. And I have a lot of close fucking people to me that knew I was going through shit, that literally fucking turned away and didn't give a fuck to talk to me and made it seem like I was a bad person for feeling the way I was feeling at the time, for having what was basically a 10-year relationship just completely fucking crumble around me. And, I had a lot of people just turn away from me in that moment. A lot of people that really should have stuck by my side. And a lot of people that literally still would rather kick it with my ex rather than fucking show me love, which shows where they were in the first place. You know what I mean? And especially in that moment in time when I needed somebody, like, I genuinely did need at least just somebody there, every fucking person turned away. Every person that was in my corner turned the fuck away. And it was wild because that was an eye-opening moment for me to see that you never know who could be your ear for you in that moment. And like, that shit fucks me up to this day to think about, because I pushed that person away through my own healing process of going through the bullshit that I went through. And it fucks me up because, it's not what I meant to do, but it's part of getting all this shit in check. You know what I mean? Sometimes doors close when you want them to stay open. And sometimes that door that closed was the very thing that kept your door open. It's crazy shit, but it's just kind of how the world works, You don't expect these things to happen, and you don't expect the things to make you check your own self and check your own mental health to happen when they happen, but they do. And I don't know, man. On this, I don't know how much longer I'm gonna make this. I'm gonna try to wrap this up here. It's a serious thing that we should actually really take into account. And I know myself. I can be not the most. I can be an irresponsible person with my platform. I can be an irresponsible person with my content. I know I can. But when it comes down to stuff like this, a lot of you guys turn to me for it, and a lot of you guys look toward my way for it, because you've seen what I've gone through in life and you've seen my ups and downs. And I don't know, like, I think we all need to take a moment from time to time and really reflect on this shit on a serious note. You know what I mean? I think we can make a lot of jokes about it. I think we can make a lot of observations and little humorous things about it, you know what I mean, and make light of it from time to time. There's nothing wrong with it, obviously. I do it myself a lot, but every now and then check on your people and like really be a fucking ear, dude. Don't be somebody that's just listening to respond. Like that shit's gross. And there's a lot of people that listen to respond, and don't be one of those fucking people. If you're gonna be there for somebody, or even just be willing to fucking just be somebody's even shoulder to cry on or something, just be there in that moment. Like you don't even gotta say shit sometimes, you know what I mean? Just be that person that they need you to be. I don't really know what else there is to say about that right there. But I think it's something that we gotta look into more, because nowadays it's open, it's out there. There's a lot of people expressing themselves more, and there's a lot more attention on mental health, but it's still such a small percentage when you look at it. We're a growing population. Right now, in the past 30 seconds while I've been talking, I bet you there's been at least like 10 more fucking babies that have popped out all over the fucking place. Like, at least at the bare minimum. It's a growing fucking, we're growing every single second. Like, this is something that has to be talked about, you know? And I won't lie to you. Yeah, this talking about that just now kind of fucked me up a lot. And trying to keep my head straight on, just to kind of get to the end of where I was going with this. And it's just simply to take care of your people, you know? Check on people. You know, there's a lot going on in our world, in our personal lives, and nobody has to give a fuck. So that very person that gives a fuck to check up on you from time to time, you should really fucking appreciate that person and actually check up. You could check up on them too from time to time, you know? It goes both ways. It goes all ways. Like, you never know what someone could be going through. You never know what can happen within a day. You know what I mean? So always check on your people. Don't be afraid to have these type of conversations. Like, just have them, even if it gets uncomfortable. It's not a big deal. If you're there for somebody genuinely and you're a good person, then there's no such thing as uncomfortable, especially in a moment like that if you care about somebody. You know what I mean? Just food for thought. You know what I mean? This episode, a little bit more serious, obviously. I want it to be a little more lighter on it, but at the same time, there's really nothing to be light on with this type of shit. You know, suicide's no joke. Mental health in reality is no joke. It's nothing to joke about. All this stuff is stuff that we have to pay attention to. So, with that being said, let's just be a good person. You know what I mean? Stay humble. Be a good person. Check on your people. Use your outlets responsibly. Use your distractions responsibly, I should say. Use your outlets and use your distractions responsibly. And just keep your head on straight. You know, there's a lot going on in the world that affects us differently. There's a lot going on in everybody's personal lives that affect us differently. Do what you can to make the best out of it. But don't ever be afraid to have these conversations, and just open up to people from time to time. Be somebody's ear. You know what I mean? I don't really got anything else to say. Till the next one, guys. Peace.